Imagine waking up one day, turning on your beloved computer, and receiving an email with a recruitment subject line. What would you do? A company named Daydream sounds like a total scam. But before our protagonist could even react, the online recruiter popped up, singing their own praises. Dang Dang spoke up first. What kind of company is Daydream Corporation? Isn't that the company selling super effective hair loss treatments? Extremely famous for their incredible hair growth results. Ding Ding chimed in right on cue. I heard they're a pharmaceutical company focused on cosmetics and skincare. Instant results, no matter how hard you dragons try. As soon as the two finished their intro, the system exploded, tossing the two cheerleaders aside with a giant headline. And that's not all. An ad slogan, probably unverified by the Ministry of Commerce, flashed wildly. We provide every kind of medicine you could ever need. The next line was even more over the top. We are a miraculous pharmaceutical company specializing in creating panaceas. Fortunately, it ended there, and the Ding Dang duo took their final bow. See you at Daydream. But it made sense for them to step backstage, because the next moment was the final boss's time to shine. And so, Kim T, bathed in the spotlight, exuded a sparkling aura. Yet, the scammy recruitment vibe couldn't be masked by gold or silver. You are the chosen candidates. Sunum stood among dozens of candidates, blankly sorting out the chaotic information running through his head. Daydream Corporation. That's a name I know very well. This company is supposedly a miraculous pharmaceutical company that can create anything. And his train of thought was suddenly cut off by Kim T's booming voice. Today, we have gathered the best rookies right here. He didn't care if the candidates actually wanted the job, excitedly declaring, "Congratulations! You have all been assigned to the Field Exploration Team." Meanwhile, the Field Exploration Team of Daydream Corporation is one of the 5 teams operating under the Development Department, a massive force in the Ghost Story universe. A team destined for doom, notoriously known as the company's Suicide Squad. Just that infamous reputation alone was enough to make everyone panic. Field Exploration Team? I've never heard of a team like that before. Me neither. Someone even raised a simple yet fatal question. Why would a pharmaceutical company need a team like that? Sunum finally realized he had stumbled into a literal pyramid scheme. To think they'd organize a death game right during orientation just to screen new employees. This is insane. Almost instantly, his feet caught up with his thoughts. I need to get out of here. Right at that tense moment, Kim T's voice echoed again. However, before you are officially hired. That vague tone quickly sparked a wave of suspicion. Now what? Sunum glared at the door that had just slammed shut right in front of him, already frustrated enough, only to hear Kim T's voice again. There will be a short probationary evaluation. This will be an absolute assessment based entirely on practical ability. Naturally, to evaluate everyone fairly. Kim T excitedly snapped his fingers while his words didn't pause for a second. We will need everyone's enthusiastic participation, right? We will deal with anyone who tries to slack off. As soon as his words and actions ended, darkness enveloped the room, causing another wave of panic. Is it a blackout? Why did the door slam shut earlier? I think they're about to start another presentation. But the person making that guess suddenly shifted to a more anxious tone. Excuse me, but don't you hear that sound? Everyone's bodies suddenly lurched, as if losing gravity. Except for Sunum. Everyone was thrown left and right by the intense inertia manipulating the space. After a few seconds of silence to let everyone recover, a broadcast echoed through the space. Dear passengers, thank you for using the Abyss Transit Authority today. This train will not stop at just any station. To ensure a pleasant journey to your final destination, please listen carefully to the following announcements. People looked at the "this station/next station" text flashing on the board, unable to hold back their whispers as they searched for clues. What is this? A subway? Is this some kind of virtual reality? Are we actually moving? The doors won't open. Someone even came up with a highly imaginative scenario. Is this some kind of advanced technology? Or maybe an escape room game? Ignoring his panicking colleagues, Sunum remained calm, denying everything in his head. This isn't advanced technology, and it's definitely not an escape room game. But he didn't share his thoughts with anyone, busy letting his mind drift into the void. Who could have seen this coming? that applying for a job would drag me into this crazy bullshit. And that recruitment ad wasn't even pretty. It looked like an anti-drug propaganda poster from the 2000s. Daydream Corporation 20XX. Public recruitment for the first half of the year. With that unforgettable memory flashing in his mind, Sunam once again engraved the name Daydream into his head. Even the ominous job title hanging around his neck felt much heavier than usual. Field Exploration Team and a Death Game. Sunam's anxiety finally had to pause, giving way to the announcement echoing through the train car. This station is Melancholy. His mind unconsciously repeated the data. Melancholy Station. Then, without flinching, he stepped outside. Right at this moment. It turned out Sunam was the most clear-headed person here, having realized the bitter reality his new job brought. I'm inside a ghost story. Confirming that thought was a reminder that he didn't know whether to be sad or happy about. Welcome to the Abyss Transit Authority. The dimension shifted again to a familiar, suffocating urban landscape, where Chiho was walking through with a heavy heart. The walk home is so miserable. I'm unusually tired today. Along with her slouched posture, her inner thoughts were equally heavy. I need to go straight to sleep as soon as I get home, but I still have to do the laundry. Chiho's eyelids fought a losing battle until she fell into a daze. After drifting off like that, she woke up to find herself inside a subway car. It looked like a normal commute, but Chiho was startled. Where am I? She took in the abnormalities around her and realized in shock, something's wrong. No matter how hazy her thoughts were, she knew. Everything surrounding me is so weird. Back to Sunam. He was scrutinizing the heavily scribbled personnel list, leisurely deducing. Looks like the company is planning to screen the new hires through this ghost story. The loudspeaker announcement echoed again like a debt collector. This station is Melancholy. Melancholy Station. Passengers whose final destination is Melancholy Station, please disembark according to the announcement's instructions. When the ghostly train finally stopped, the announcement continued. The platform screen doors are opening. But while everyone was still in a daze, it dropped another threat. The doors will close in 30 seconds. There is no turning back. Sunam looked at the flashing guide board in front of him, unconsciously muttering, sadness? Melancholy. Beside him, curious people started running their mouths at full capacity. It looks just like a normal subway station. Can't we get off here? They said the doors are closing. Shouldn't we hurry up and get off? The noise reached Sunam's ears, making him curse internally. Damn it. To make matters worse, the guy named Kwang Ha next to him was unusually optimistic. Except for the weird station name, everything else looks normal. He boldly placed his hand on the door and loudly declared, I don't think we should step outside. Sunam suddenly felt a burst of goodwill and opened his mouth to warn him. You heard what they said. It's Melancholy Station. There's no station named like that in Korea. Not only did Kwang Ha stubbornly argue back, but Suhan next to him also chimed in. No, I mean, that's true. But, will you take responsibility if we stay here and get killed? Before Sunam could retort, another calm voice intervened. Hey, Sahan, who had appeared out of nowhere, suddenly sided with him to remind the group. I think this guy is right. We should wait and see how things play out first. As soon as he finished speaking, the loudspeaker echoed through the space again. The doors are closing. It was unclear who led the charge out first, but they managed to leave behind a panicked scream. Hey, the doors are closing. Let's just get off first. Dong-soo, despite sprinting at Olympic speed, ended up slamming his face into the cold doors. He looked at Kwang Ha's group, casually standing outside, sweat pouring down his body in waves. Dong-soo pounded on the door, sobbing in despair. I didn't make it. Damn it. Yet, he refused to look at his own fault, instead throwing the blame for his bad luck at Sunam. Fuck. This is all thanks to someone. Sunam heard him loud and clear, but didn't reply, busy letting his mind drift into the unknown. I understand how they feel. They probably just want to drop everything and run. But suddenly, the announcement board outside the station flashed a series of goodbye messages, glowing blood red. Suhan, who had quickly gotten off with Kwang Ha, looked around anxiously and asked, will the people left on the train be okay? Kwang Ha rubbed his aching neck and replied indifferently, that's their choice. They'll figure it out. Kwang Ha didn't realize everything around him was slowly melting, too busy gloating over the unlucky ones on the train. Exactly. They should have gotten off when I told them to. Just standing there watching will only lead to a terrible end. But his next two words, right, were as mushy as his own body right now. Suhan watched the changes on Kwangha's body, momentarily struck dumb by the sheer horror. In the blink of an eye, everything, including the people around him, was dissolved by the ghostly liquid. It took Suhan a long time to find his voice, trembling as he spoke. What is that? He didn't dare linger any longer, turning around and running in the opposite direction. Finally, Suhan was smart for once, realizing something was coming from the ceiling. Something is dropping from the ceiling. He ran while screaming at the top of his lungs. Something is dripping from the ceiling. Help me. But those screams met the same fate, dissolving along with everyone else. It seemed Sunum himself was aware of the tragic situation outside. He instinctively closed his eyes tightly, as if in a moment of silence for the unfortunate souls. Even so, it seemed Sunum never had any intention of stopping them in the first place. That is the fate of those who chose the wrong answer. And just like that, for the survivors left on the train, the new employee probationary period began. Outside, that mushy liquid was now mixed with the rusty smell of blood. Meanwhile, the train remained as sturdy as a fortress, slowly rolling forward along with the announcement. The train is departing. To better understand this story, let's look into Daydream Corporation. In reality, this place has jurisdiction over the darkness. In other words, the darkness is the ghost stories. Daydream's employees are dispatched into ghost stories to carry out missions. Naturally, the new employee probationary period also takes place inside a ghost story. So the announcement coming from this ghost train now seemed very fitting. The train is departing from Melancholy Station. For a comfortable journey to your destination, please listen carefully to the announcements. In a life or death survival format like this, there were bound to be people who couldn't handle the pressure, screaming frantically. What do we do now? Did someone really just die? As for why Sunum could remain so unfazed amidst the chaos, the reason was simple. Honestly, I'm in a much more advantageous position than the other new hires. Because I've read that entire ghost story encyclopedia, then everyone would ask the same question. Huh? Then shouldn't you be fine? If you share that thought, you're just like any other reader. People might think that way. A typical overpowered protagonist transmigrating into their favorite world, holding an absolute advantage in information and monopolizing all future opportunities and items. Sunum used to dreamily think, if I could become like that, it would be awesome. But there's no such thing as a free lunch being hand-fed to him. There was only one problem. A very core problem that Sunum himself was stuck with. That was the fact that he absolutely couldn't handle scary things. Sunum looked calm on the outside, but inside, he was screaming in silent panic. Me. A ghost story. A subway. Me. Endless crying and wailing. The field exploration team. Me. Yes, the harsh reality proved that Sunum was an extreme coward. Written words were fine. He could read them with interest, even excitedly giving a thumbs up and loudly declaring, Kim Sunum likes this. However, the moment it turned into images, he was a total coward who couldn't handle it at all. The proof was the illustration of Kim Sunum fainting. Even when reading the encyclopedia, if there was a scary background image or creepy background music, he would cover everything except the text. Even on video apps, Sunum would click not interested on everything just because of the thumbnails. Even when submitting his own ghost stories, he couldn't bring himself to insert a single picture. If the ghost argued that a ghost story needed images to increase resolution, Sunum would loudly retort, I'm sorry, but I'm a coward, so I can't look at pictures of any ghost stories. The ghost stubbornly argued, I am a ghost story written by you. Sunum, with even higher stubbornness, immediately dismissed it. I can't make exceptions. Even his friends frantically gossiped about this hot topic. Is it true that Kim Sunum rejected a girl when she asked him to watch a horror movie because he was too scared? Holy shit, Sunum, your name literally means goosebumps, and you can't even watch a horror movie? He had no choice but to text back, do you want to die? The other party read Sunum like an open book, so they all replied half-heartedly, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. While in despair, a reminder flashed in Sunum's mind. Remember what was written in the encyclopedia? It turned out the field exploration team was a major faction in the ghost story universe. one of the 5 teams under Daydream Corporation's development department. A tragic team also known as the Suicide Squad. Sunum desperately zoomed in on the words Suicide Squad to the max, only to painfully realize, I'm screwed. The number of survivors currently in this car was 8. Right then, the loudspeaker announcement whined again. The next station is Resentment. Resentment Station. The doors will open on your right. Sunum didn't even bother lifting his eyelids, blankly asking himself, resentment this time? He looked at the sparkling box in his hand, silently dropping a wish in his mind. Just kill me already. However, the light emitting from the box was too blinding, eventually catching Sunum's attention. It turned out there was a very eye-catching and inviting text written on it. Tier 1 physical reward from the Ghost Story universe. Sunum looked up in a daze, repeating those words in his head with utter confusion. Ghost Story universe? Physical reward? He immediately scanned his surroundings, and even more questions popped up. Am I the only one seeing this? But opposite Sunum right now was Hyun, surrounded by people asking about her. Are you okay? Take it easy, stand up slowly. Sunum quickly touched the text with a highly guarded attitude. I'll just stay quiet and touch it without drawing attention. A stack of papers immediately fluttered in the air as if blown by a strong wind. Then, Sunum unconsciously raised his hand to catch the item falling from it. After taking a good look at the gift he received, he curiously blurted out, a phone stand. Finally, Sunum recognized the familiarity of what he had just received. This is definitely a souvenir from the Ghost Story universe. And it's the one I bought. Time suddenly seemed to be snapped by Thanos. It frantically rewound to 15 hours ago. When all the numbers on the clock hit 0, the space distorted as if someone was undergoing a rebirth tribulation. A few hours ago, an eerie yet brief sound echoed everywhere. Welcome. The explorer has set foot into the abyss. It turned out this was a shopping mall, and that creepy sound was just a high school girl teasing her friend. Did I scare you? The girl who was almost scared to death now had the energy to yell back. So annoying. No one paid attention to the flashing Doomsday Prophecy, Ghost Story Universe sign hanging like a death warrant overhead. Sunum also happened to walk past and realized it was a pop-up store for that very thing. Doomsday Prophecy from the Ghost Story Universe was an online ghost story universe based on the concept of exploring various anomalous phenomena known as the darkness. And here was a fan who had deeply immersed himself in this universe. The cashier looked at Sunum's full basket and kindly suggested, would you like to buy an L-sized tote bag to carry these souvenirs as well? He readily agreed. Yes, please give me one. Thank you. But the people behind him couldn't help but whisper, is he a reseller? He's not a scalper, is he? Sunum carefully pulled his hat down lower and silently retorted in his heart. I told you I'm buying these for myself. I even had to use my annual leave to come here. To be more precise, he wanted to add, actually, I came here last week too. But then the Lucky Spin event popped up. Due to his social image as an office worker, Sunum had to bite the bullet and skip it. I couldn't bring myself to participate in that. Even so, he was here now because his inner passion urged him on. But this pop-up store closes tomorrow. So if I don't play now, to top it off, the employee popped their head out to push him further. The spin event ends today. Would you like to participate? Sunum, possessed by who knows what, loudly declared, yes. Thank you. The employee, having successfully lured in a sucker, walked with a noticeable bounce in their step. Right this way, please. Sunum followed quietly but didn't forget to add, thank you. Soon enough, an urging voice rang in his ears. Come on, let's start the lucky spin. Doomsday Prophecy from the Ghost Story universe. The prize tiers are set for each slot, so just press the button to stop whenever you want. Sunum, hoping for a bit of luck, decisively pressed it. Anyway, I'll probably just win a consolation prize. But even that is better than nothing. As the wheel spun wildly, his mind spun along with it. 7th prize is a notebook, right? At least I should get that and go home. Yet, for some dogshit luck reason, the arrow sluggishly pointed to the first prize slot. Sunum was so shocked he froze, blankly questioning his own conscience. Really? The employee, as if reading his mind, lunged forward without hesitation to confirm with excitement. Congratulations. That's the grand prize. First prize. Come on. Come on. Please claim your first prize. Tier 1 Physical Reward. Even with the hot item in his hands, Sunum's heart was still full of questions. Is this real? The employee pulled him out of his daze by suggesting, "We also need to make a personalized souvenir on the spot, so please tell us your name." Outwardly, Sunum unconsciously mumbled, "Ah, yes." But inwardly, he grew even more suspicious. An on-the-spot personalized souvenir. Nevertheless, along with the echoing music, his name was called out. "It's Kim Sunum." After the ID card was pushed out, there was a new prompt. Create your own character in the team. Everything was so automatic and natural that when Sunum held the finished product with his name on it, he realized in shock, an ID card? While he was still confused, the elite employee jumped out again to act as a cheerleader. It's Daydream Corporation. They're one of the 3 most famous factions in our ghost story universe. Of course, Sunum knew. It was the classic trope of a massive corporation doing business based on ghost stories. And among them, the field exploration team is. The team specialized in being drained of all energy to explore anomalous phenomena at any given time. Thanks to that, it seemed many named characters belonged to this team. The employee didn't notice the reluctance on Sunum's face and was still joyfully congratulating him. I'm really looking forward to seeing what kind of active role employee Kim Sunum will play in the world of that ghost story universe. Do you like it? Will you cherish it? He gave a half-hearted yes to brush it off. But in his heart, he already had a plan. I'll have to shove this into some corner out of sight. But right at that moment, a sharp accusation struck Sunum's mind. Liar. Following that, the space around him immediately spun and was replaced by an eerie, ghostly atmosphere. And then, a sudden wave of dizziness washed over Sunum, and his vision went dark. Sunum tightened his grip on the item in his hand and silently regretted it. And when I opened my eyes again, I was inside the lecture hall. The memory phone stand is a limited item appearing in the ghost story universe. When attached to a smartphone, it perfectly projects the text the user remembers in an organized page format. Sunum fumbled in his pocket while his mind calculated about this item. This phone stand, it's an item that displays memories as text. If so, Sunum didn't hesitate anymore and attached the stand to his phone. The moment the two merged, a blinding light, like the sun of truth, almost blinded Sunum. It took him a long while to read the dense text displayed on the screen. Welcome to the Abyss Transit Authority. I fell asleep, and when I woke up, I was on a subway train. It felt like my commute home, but for some reason, unfamiliar station names started ringing out. This was the synopsis of a ghost story appearing in the ghost story universe. Daydream Corporation's identifier was D16. A crazy ghost story boasting an exceptionally high escape difficulty among the Twilight tier darkness written in the early days. And forever, and the field exploration team had to suffer forever. A total of 56 expeditions were recorded. Sunum's inner self screamed frantically. It actually works. The text of the records he only vaguely remembered appeared on his phone screen in perfect detail. This ghost story universe he had just entered was a collection of hundreds of ghost stories, where many people burned with creative passion. Recalling all those ghost stories instantly was hard enough. And because you have to deduce the survival methods yourself, it's very difficult to immediately come up with the right answers for different situations. But if I have this, clearly, God had given Sunum diamond hands, not just the legendary golden fingers. He immediately started operating the phone screen. What I need to find right now is, Sunum's fingers flew across the screen, leaving no afterimages, trying to gather more information about past escape cases. Only when he felt he had enough data did he decisively stop. Sunum thoughtfully brought the phone to his lips, rubbing it, and silently breathed a sigh of relief. Got it. The loudspeaker announcement kept clinging like a debt-collecting ghost. The next station is Resentment Station. But it didn't affect Sunum's thinking at all. After reading the escape cases, I have a rough idea of where we should get off. The loudspeaker emphasized that this was Resentment Station, perfectly coinciding with his moment of hesitation. The problem is, suddenly, complaints from the people lounging around reached Sunum's ears. Man, there's no cell signal and no data either. This is ridiculous. Resentment? Resentment like when people get angry? He stared at them, weighing his options heavily. How do I convince these people to get off at this station? Sunum locked his eyes on the tightly shut doors and silently made up his mind. I need to get as many people to get off together as possible. If you ask if he had a mission to save many lives, like wings would sprout from his back, followed by touching phrases like, "May Lord Kim Sunum protect us. Long live the field exploration team." His answer was obviously no. But thinking up to this point, Sunum held his head, wanting to explain himself a bit. "No, from a human perspective, I do feel that way. But did I tell you? The most fatal problem here is that I can't get off alone. This train passes through all sorts of stops. There's a station full of eyeballs. Then there's a station engulfed in darkness. There's even a station that's completely inverted." Just thinking about it made Sunum dizzy. The chances of me fainting halfway and failing to escape are over 90%. Thinking about his innate cowardice, Sunum took a deep breath and boldly stood up. Therefore, he stared at everyone and silently made a resolution. "Somehow, I have to convince everyone, and we will leave here together." Even so, only a fool would suddenly start blabbering about supernatural phenomena and the darkness. Since Sunum wasn't that fool, he had another plan. "Hold on. First, I need to build trust. People are often influenced by mob mentality. If I can convince one or two people, the rest will tend to follow and get off the train together." With that guideline, Sunum gently glided through the aisle to find his prey. Let's see. Someone who looks like they need help, or someone I can use as a connection. But after taking just a few steps, a panicked scream reached his ears. What the hell is this? This isn't some horror story on YouTube. Sunum quickly turned toward the owner of that voice and cheered wildly in his heart. Found one. And the person occupying Sunum's target was none other than Ryung-an. She was still glued to her phone when the sound of footsteps approached from afar. Sunum casually sat down next to her and started the conversation in the most natural way. "Did you just say ghost story?" Ryung-an hurriedly put her phone away out of politeness before awkwardly explaining. I sometimes watch ghost story videos on YouTube, and this reminds me of them." He took this opportunity to press further. "Could you clarify what you mean? The current situation doesn't seem normal, so I think it's best if we share information." Ryung-an didn't hide anything and spilled everything. It's not really information or anything. It's just that, literally, I feel like everything is straight out of a ghost story." The lecture hall suddenly turned into a subway car. After just one example, Ryung-an's voice cracked. And that person just... The word died that she finally uttered seemed to drain all the life out of her. Ryung-an herself felt haunted, so she quickly covered her mouth and explained. "Sorry, suddenly bringing that up makes me..." However, Sunum showed extreme understanding towards her. "It's okay. I feel the same way. This situation is too surreal. I can't think straight either." Saying that, he slumped his shoulders, silently swallowing his next exclamation. "I want to throw up too." After a few seconds of freezing, Ryung-an smiled and retorted. "No way. You look like the only one here keeping a cool head." Sunum suffered in silence, unable to speak, only quietly gnawing on his pain. "Easy for you to say. You just haven't seen how cool I look when I pass out." As their conversation gradually opened up, someone approached and interrupted. Sahan flashed a bright, awkward smile, confirming what he had been wondering. "I was wondering earlier. You were the one sitting next to me, right?" Sunum stared at him, but he himself felt hazy. Sitting next to me? But thanks to not having given birth yet, Sunum's memory was still intact as he realized. Oh right. Back in the hall, it was Sahan who pointed at the box in his hand and asked, "Where did you get that?" Even though Sunum himself couldn't explain this godforsaken gift. Well. Noticing his confusion, he proactively reached out his hand. Then, he loudly introduced his full name. "My name is Baek Sahan." Sunum flinched, instinctively repeating that name in his head. Baek Sahan, he's a named employee. Following that data, a series of specific information about the other party rushed through his mind. An employee of Daydream Corporation appearing in the Ghost Story Universe records. Final position, Department Head. A total of 106 expeditions recorded. Among them, 17 were noted as special cases in the encyclopedia. But more importantly than all of that, his nickname was Poisonous Snake. Sunum couldn't take his eyes off the harmless face in front of him, his mind still unable to believe reality. He is Baek Sahan. He remained as silent as a mouse, but the person next to him eagerly stood up to return the greeting. Even in this chaotic situation, We should at least introduce ourselves properly, right? I'm Go Ryung-an. Hearing this, Sunum silently processed the information in his head. That's a name I've never heard of. The reason he had to emphasize that was because his ghost filter was already working. So she's either someone whose real name was never revealed, or someone who handled ghost stories smoothly and left the company early, or someone who died early. There are a few named employees who only appear under nicknames or pseudonyms. But those people have such strong personality traits that you'd recognize them the moment you see them. Sunum clenched his fists on his knees to stop himself from kneeling, while cursing internally. Damn it. But ultimately, he stood up firmly and calmly extended his hand to introduce himself. I'm Kim Sunum. While they were talking, everyone had automatically divided into groups. Ryung-un leaned into Sunum's ear and whispered, "Looks like they're trying to contact the people in the next car somehow." Outwardly, he agreed. Seems like it. But inwardly, he silently objected. That effort will fail. In this ghost story, moving between train cars is taboo. But all calculations had to pause as the loudspeaker announcement rang out. The next station is Stacy. Stacy Station. Everyone quickly digested the information and turned to discuss it with each other. Stacy? The word Stacy sounds pretty nice, doesn't it? Who knows, maybe it's actually. Only Sunum discreetly denied it in his heart. No, people can't choose a station based on something as simple as that. First of all, in this ghost story, the theme of the stations changes every time it appears. So you can't just wait for a station name that sounds okay and use it to escape. But people can study past precedents. For example, in the Welcome to the Abyss Transit Authority section, there are 32 expedition records up to the 56th attempt. The station names were based on colors like red, yellow, blue, etc. And the result was a successful escape with 2 survivors who chose Blue Station. There were also station names based on body parts like left hand, cornea, heart, etc. But this time, the data recorded a failed escape for the chosen station, Cochlea Station. There were also station names based on years like 2008, 2012, 2016, etc. In the end, no lucky cases were recorded. Escape failed. Chosen station, 2026 station. Station names based on serial killers' names. Successful escape with 12 survivors. Chosen station, Gacy Station. After skimming through a series of data, Sunum still hadn't determined which path he should take. Even looking through the examples up to the 56th case, there's absolutely no correlation between a positive-sounding station name and the chance of escaping. Right then, an excited voice pulled him out of his vague thoughts. The station looks pretty normal. Should we get off and see if we can find anyone? But when he lifted his eyelids, Sunum felt like he had been struck by lightning. Then why does it look like a brand new station in some fancy new urban area? He frantically denied it in his head. No way. I need to keep every last member of the group I can get. And my sanity too, if I have to witness what's about to happen to them. Thinking of this, Sunum immediately jumped up and shouted, "Please wait." He used his most serious tone to manipulate everyone's wavering minds. "Are you sure?" Hyun, being stopped, asked back somewhat irritably. "Sure about what?" Sunum seriously repeated the question. "I'm asking if you're sure this place is safe." Afraid that he alone wasn't enough, he pulled in an ally to increase his persuasiveness. "I assume most people here agree that this feels like a ghost story. But whether in a ghost story or a horror movie, has anyone ever seen a good ending when people just act on impulse and good feelings, without any logic or deduction?" As Sunum spoke, the atmosphere grew colder. "Do you all really want to gamble your lives away that easily?" Hyun took a deep breath and used all her inner strength to retort. "Well, do you have some brilliant deduction that we don't? You've been saying nothing but pessimistic, gloomy things from the start. Move aside. What logic or deduction? Forget it. Do you think this is a quiz show? Did anyone give us any hints?" Sunum just waited for that to drop a heavier bomb. "Yes, they did. We received a hint." He paused for a moment, pointed straight at the ceiling, and boldly declared, "It's the broadcast announcement." This blunt revelation made everyone freeze in unison. From the very beginning, the announcements on the train have always been telling us the truth. Sure enough, every announcement from the loudspeaker replayed in his mind. "Thank you for traveling with the Abyss Transit Authority. Our train does not stop. For a smooth journey to your final destination, please pay close attention to this announcement." Seeing that everyone understood the issue, Sunum calmly continued. It's been obvious from the start. It constantly reminds us to focus and follow the announcements. Right at that moment, the loudspeaker chimed in right on time. Passengers whose final destination is Stacy Station, please disembark according to the announcement's instructions. Sunum scanned the room and casually asked, does anyone here have Stacy Station as their final destination? Hyun weakly justified herself again. But ecstasy is a good thing, right? Living an ecstatic, happy life? Isn't that the goal of life? Sunum immediately cut her off. So is Stacy Station your final destination? She stammered, arguing back, well. But when she regained her composure, Hyun suddenly found the courage to speak louder. Aren't you sticking your nose into other people's business a bit too much? If we miss our chance to escape because of you, will you take responsibility? Contrary to his usual inner hesitation, this time Sunum confidently promised, I will take responsibility. While everyone was still hesitating, the announcement rang out on time. The platform screen doors are closing. Sunum stood among the crowd, silently assessing. Anyway, I've already planned to get all of us out together. This is fine. Now no one can really complain about me stopping them from getting off. But just as he was feeling most smug, a panic scream pulled Sunum back to reality. Hey! The reminder struck like lightning from a clear sky, freezing his entire body. Everyone in the front car got off. The person next to Sunum softly wondered, do you think they'll be okay? But he himself was busy panicking internally. I really don't want to believe this is real. I can't believe I have to witness what's about to happen. The footsteps of the first person leaving the train car were stopped by a thick, yellow liquid. But it seemed to have a mind of its own, creeping up each person's legs to reach their upper bodies. The trapped people screamed in shock. Gold! Is that gold? But just like at the previous station, all words were swallowed by that sparkling yellow liquid. Their bodies are melting. Help me! The final cry for help was washed away with its owner into the deadly river of gold. The scene outside the train car could now be described in 4 words. Hell on earth. Those who harbored hopes of escaping had now all turned into golden mummies floating around the platform. Those who stayed behind stared blankly as the loudspeaker mechanically reminded them. The train is departing from Stacy Station. Suddenly, someone who had regained their senses grabbed Sunum's shirt and interrogated him. You said you'd take responsibility. Are you really sure you can find a safe place for us? He tilted his head, looking at the other person's pale face, and firmly replied, yes. But no one could read Sunum's true thoughts at this moment. I have no idea how this turned into me supposedly having the right answer. But my legs are shaking so much that this is all I can say right now. I'm about to die of stress first. Suddenly, Sahan approached with his familiar smiling face to offer congratulations. You are truly extraordinary, sir. Sunum was startled by the formal tone, freezing in place. Sir. He ignored Sunum's awkwardness and continued to ramble on. People like you are rare these days. Since you made such a bold promise, I really hope it brings good results. Sunum listened until he was tired of it, then casually asked back, Mr. Baek Sahan, is there any station you want to get off at? He flinched, mumbling to deflect. Huh? Why ask that all of a sudden? Not really. I'm not very knowledgeable about this kind of stuff. But his fake demeanor couldn't get past Sunum's cowardly, overthinking mind. If Baek Sahan really used to be an employee here, that means he passed this entrance exam. So he still doesn't have any feeling about it? For now, I'll just keep an eye on Baek Sahan. The loudspeaker announcement spread through the train car again. Dear passengers, we are entering a curved section of the track. Noise and turbulence may occur. Please remain seated to avoid accidents. It was unclear who spoke up first to urge everyone, but they all obediently complied. Everyone, let's sit down. However, the chaos unfolding before their eyes threw everyone into a panic. Oh no, look at the front car. It looks like there's a fight. What should we do? The announcement said to sit down. Should we say something? Finally, someone couldn't stand it and stepped up as a mediator. Excuse me, can you hear us? Please sit down. Yet, Sunum calmly dropped a sentence in his heart. Too late. Sure enough, the next announcement arrived on time. We are entering a curved section. The train twisted like a water snake into a bizarrely sharp curve. When the disobedient passengers in the car were crushed into minced meat, the announcement calmly rang out. It is now safe. You may stand up. Thank you for your cooperation. The faint-hearted who witnessed this scene immediately clutched their heads and went crazy. It actually happened exactly like the announcement said. I can't take this anymore. Let me off this thing. What is this? What the hell is this? Mom. Ignoring everyone's frantic emotional outbursts, Sunum took the time to reinforce his point. This proves without a doubt. The announcements are exactly our lifelines. It's definitely beneficial for my survival. But this is too horrifying. Focus. Just focus on convincing them. But the announcement clung like a death warrant that couldn't be pulled off. Dear passengers, this is an announcement from the Abyss Transit Authority. The people who were already in deep despair could only blankly ask, again. But this time, it wasn't an announcement about the arriving station, but a lost and found notice. We have received a report of a lost item. If you are in possession of this lost item, please disembark at the next station and hand it over to the station staff. Sunum's heart skipped a beat, as if the announcement was aimed directly at him. A mixed record escape case. As long as you have the designated lost item, you can leave safely. The announcement continued to pierce everyone's eardrums. The lost item is a man in his 20s. Adult male. Blood type A. His right eyeball. Inside Sunum's group's train car, the distorted voice of the announcement echoed rhythmically, chilling the air. The lost item is the left eye of a male in his 20s with blood type A. If you have found the lost item, please disembark at the next station and hand it over to the station staff. As soon as that information was broadcast, he immediately remembered a crucial detail that had appeared. An escape case from the side story records. An unconditional escape ticket. His memory quickly flipped to the content he had read. Ghost Story Darkness Expedition Record. Welcome to the Abyss Transit Authority 3.4 Side Story Records. Escapes. A document recording unusual survival cases where people successfully escaped using methods other than getting off at the correct station. A few methods have been observed repeatedly. The most frequently appearing records are temporary stops to adjust the distance between trains and lost item announcements. If you get off the train with the announced lost item, you can escape the station. However, only one person can escape. At this moment, the train car was still filled with chaotic chatter about the announcement that just played. What did they just say? A male in his 20s? The left eye of a male with blood type A? The words repeated amidst the tense atmosphere, making the panic spread even worse. Type A? They must be talking about blood types, right? Amidst the chaotic scene, Sunum silently leaned back in his seat and calculated internally. Should I ignore it and let it pass? After all, everyone can survive if we get off at the right station. If only one person escapes, early on without a reason, it could make the atmosphere weird and cause infighting. Right then, Ha-chun hesitantly raised his hand to suggest. How about we find out who the target is first? That suggestion quickly gained agreement. Right? We don't know what might happen. So everyone slowly gathered into a circle. Questions began to ring out one after another in the space. Excuse me, how old are you? I'm in my 30s. You look younger than your actual age. I'm blood type B, so it has nothing to do with me. When it was his turn, Dong-su turned to the side and asked in a low voice, What about you, Mr. Kim Sunum? He immediately answered without hesitation. I'm blood type AB. That answer had been prepared by him in advance. But that's a lie. I'm actually blood type A. But anyway, this will pass, so there's no need to reveal that I'm a target. Right at that moment, an arm slowly raised along with a hesitant voice. It took Ha-chun a long time to gather enough courage to continue speaking with a serious face. I perfectly matched those criteria. After speaking, he immediately looked around at everyone with a tense expression. The announcement rang out again, urgently. The next station is Wrath. Wrath Station. Sahan suddenly flashed a twisted smile as the mechanical voice continued steadily. The doors will open on the... While Ha-chun still didn't know how to react, a figure silently closed in beside him. Then, he slowly asked to confirm once more. You said you're blood type A, right? He flinched and spun around. Yes. That's right. The moment he nodded in confirmation was also the moment Sahan's smile stretched to his ears, accompanied by a static noise. And the next is Wrath. Wrath Station. The platform screen doors are opening. As he spoke, he slowly swung the arm holding his phone backward. What a pity. With those words, the sharp corner struck right into Ha-chun's left eye. A dry sound of impact echoed through the silent train car, freezing everyone in place. But Sahan didn't stop there, following up with a heavy kick to Ha-chun's body. The force of the impact sent his body flying from his spot, crashing onto the train floor in agony. A tragic scream tore through the suffocating atmosphere. He just stabbed him in the eye. Chaos quickly spread. A few people rushed over to Ha-chun while questioning Sahan. "Are you okay? What the hell are you doing?" Contrary to the fierce reactions around him, Sahan acted as if it was obvious. "They said we could escape if we sacrificed an eye. So why are you all standing around waiting like idiots?" That cold response left the crowd stunned. No one expected him to interpret the announcement in such a cruel way. "They said we could get off if we handed over the lost item." Right at that moment, the mechanical voice rang out from the broadcasting system again. "If you have found the lost item, please disembark at the next station and hand it over to the station staff." Ignoring the shocked stares directed at him, Sahan just indifferently turned and walked away. But come to think of it, I guess I can't expect much from people who want others to take responsibility for their lives. That shameless audacity made Ryung-eun grind her teeth in anger. That guy. Meanwhile, Sunum silently marveled. He rubbed his chin, a look of amusement appearing on his face. Truly worthy of the name Poisonous Snake. Looking at the smile on Sahan's face, he unconsciously recalled the demeanor he showed when he first appeared. I thought it was because he was a new hire and hadn't been tainted by society yet. But the Beck Sahan described in the Ghost Story Darkness Expedition record definitely gives off that kind of vibe. Sunum's gaze followed Sahan as he stepped out of the train car and turned back to wave at everyone. Instead of sacrificing his own left eye, which also matched the description, he ruined another target's eye just in case only one item was accepted. Right then, the announcement rang out. The platform screen doors are closing. It was also when Sunum confirmed he had understood the broadcast wording. Even though there was a hint in the announcement, that was a very bold decision. The problem is, he didn't need to go that far. While everyone's attention was still focused on Sahan, he quietly lowered himself. His hand slowly reached into the luggage compartment under the seat, carefully searching. Earlier, I definitely saw something around here. Reaching deeper inside, Sunum silently sorted things out. From the very beginning, a lost item is not something that belongs to me. When his fingertips touched an object hidden in the dark corner, he immediately pulled it out without hesitation. But something that someone else has lost. Resting in the palm of his hand was an object that looked quite like a contact lens case. On the outside, there was a small paper label with the title, Right Eye. Blood type A, female, age 27. So, this lost item announcement is a treasure hunt, where you have to find a potential item inside the train car that exactly matches the description and bring it with you. Well, there are also cases where people accidentally escaped by sacrificing their own body parts. Before the train departed, Sunum suddenly tapped lightly on the glass door to catch Sahan's attention. I don't need to criticize him for finding his own way to escape, but this has definitely crossed the line. Then he slowly raised the small vial in his hand close to the glass door for him to see. His fingers intentionally covered the label on the outside, leaving the only thing visible to him the eyeball resting inside. Through the glass barrier, his expression instantly changed when he realized what it was. His mutter carried shock and disbelief. An eye. The broadcast echoed across the platform again. Passengers who have disembarked, please wait a moment. The station staff will assist you. As soon as the announcement ended, mechanical devices that hadn't existed before suddenly appeared around Sahan's position. They simultaneously aimed at Sahan's eyeball as the train's voice spoke up. We sincerely thank you for your cooperation. Everything happened in a brief moment. He was attacked. The lost item was safely handed over to the station staff. The remaining people on the train immediately caused a commotion when they heard the agonizing scream echoing from the platform. That scream just now, did everyone hear that? But because of what he had done, no one felt sorry for Baek Sahan. While everyone was still discussing, Ryung-eun was still bending over to check Ha-chun's condition. It's almost certain that his cornea is damaged. I'm so worried. Noticing that the other party could make a fairly accurate assessment, Sunum felt a bit curious. Did you work in the medical field before? Seeming afraid of a misunderstanding, she quickly explained. No, I only studied that major in college. Anyway, I changed majors halfway through, so I'm just an amateur who hasn't even taken the national exam yet. But this made him admire her. Just getting into medical school is amazing enough to me. The atmosphere on the train hadn't completely settled after the recent incident when the broadcast suddenly announced. The next station is Hatred. Hatred Station. Sunum immediately noticed that everyone was focusing their attention on him. Are they watching to see if I'll tell them to get off here? Given the current situation, I guess they're planning to entrust the station selection decision to me entirely. Right then, Ryung-un suddenly spoke up with a complex expression. Excuse me, you're feeling a bit pressured, right? This confused him a bit. Huh. Seeming not to want to give him a chance to reply, she continued in one breath. When everyone keeps wanting to rely on you. Sunum thought differently in his heart. Actually, I'm grateful they're relying on me. When he stayed silent, she continued to express what had been weighing on her mind. I know everyone is doing this just because they're scared and anxious. I'm sorry, but for you, it's completely different. I'm the one who's scared and anxious. That's why I tried to provoke them in the first place. After a few seconds of silence to stabilize her emotions, Ryung-un slowly spoke. I tried thinking about it myself. That statement immediately piqued Sunum's curiosity. What have you thought of? After a moment of hesitation, Ryung-un continued in a very cautious tone. If we're talking about a person's final destination, is it ultimately the end of life? That question made Sunum freeze for a moment as he listened. Because the end of life is death. As she spoke, she unconsciously tightened her clasped hands. So, I wondered if we should get off the train when a similar word appears. But if so, it feels like telling everyone to walk towards their own end. So I couldn't say it out loud. After listening to all the thoughts Ryung-un had just shared, Sunum evaluated objectively. I think that's a very persuasive idea. The unexpected praise made her slightly flustered. Really? However, that agreement only lasted for a moment. However, from the very beginning. Speaking up to this point, he suddenly fell silent, a faint smile appearing on his lips. Then he slowly closed his eyes, letting his train of thought continue to complete in his head before speaking. What exactly is a destination? This left Ryung-un bewildered. The familiar announcement voice echoed everywhere again. The next station is Peace. Peace Station. The doors will open on your right. The doors will open on. When the train car became quiet, Sunum continued. If you check the dictionary, a destination means something you want to achieve or the direction you are heading towards. Then he organized the deductions in his head because the instructions given weren't hard. If you do it right, you survive. The theme of this train is very intuitive. Sit in your seat. Find the lost item. As long as you act according to the instructions, your safety will be guaranteed. But along with that comes a regrettable departure. Even those who get off at the wrong station have to pay the price in a very intuitive way. So a destination means following the rules that this train has always operated on. The criteria for choosing a station is actually very easy. The destination this train is talking about is probably a milestone that you yourself haven't reached yet. In other words, it's something you don't have. All the previous events instantly connected. At Blue Station, those who didn't bring blue items escaped. At the station named after the serial killer, most people escaped. Because none of them were serial killers. Every example given made the argument more solid. Thinking in this direction will make our station selection criteria much simpler. Because the theme of the stations this time is emotions. An emotion that I am lacking right now. After a period of continuing to roll forward, the broadcast announcement rang out, making everyone inside anxious. This station is Peace. Peace Station. Contrary to the anxiety enveloping the surroundings, Sunum smiled and spoke with confidence and without any hesitation. This is the station. Turning to look at Ryung-un's bewildered face, he affirmed, we will get off here. A tough question had always been smoldering in Sunum's mind day after day. In the end, what is an emotion that a person doesn't have? Everyone experiences emotions in life. He recalled the colorful expressions, the vivid faces of his companions. Despite the differences between each individual, since almost everyone experiences joy, anger, sorrow, and happiness, it's not easy to find an emotion that none of us possess. But if there is an exception, Sunum snapped out of his endless train of thought to return to reality. His lost gaze combined with his inherently emotionless face created an unpredictable, mysterious look. Right in front of the group, the train's electronic sign suddenly flashed, emitting cold beams of light. The next station is Manhwa. Peace. Manhwa. Dictionary definition: a state of mind free from worry or anxiety. Manhwa. Noun: a state where a country is stable, peaceful, and free from concern. Synonym: Pyongan. Enjoying peace. They pray for the country's peace every year. 2. Having no worry or anxiety in mind. He is always calm and carefree. He has a mountain of work to do, but is still sleeping soundly. No human being can completely escape worry and anxiety, especially in a situation like this. The atmosphere outside the train was pungent and enveloped by the stench of blood rising to their noses. Sunam approached Ha-chun, who was sitting slumped on the cold metal floor. He bent down, extending a hand in front of the other party with a friendly attitude. Sunam proactively pulled Ha-chun's arm over his shoulder, using his strength to support every step towards the train door. "Let me help you." This unexpected kind gesture made Ha-chun so embarrassed he stuttered. "Thank you, Sunam." In reality, hidden behind Sunam's thoughtfulness was a highly rational calculation. Once I take the lead, everyone will follow. Now there's no turning back. If we all escape together like this. However, his calculation was cut short the moment the automatic doors opened. Blood splatters were scattered all over the walls and floor, creating a picture of hell on earth. Everyone's faces instantly turned pale white. Even Sunam was rooted to the spot. The space fell into a dead silence. Someone tremblingly spoke up, breaking the suffocating atmosphere. "A pool of blood. Is this really the right answer?" Sunam's inner self was frantically screaming and cursing this ironic reality. Of all the places to choose, why this one? His confidence and decisiveness from just a few minutes ago had completely vanished into thin air along with the wind reeking of blood. How can I convince them to get off here? Honestly, even I don't want to get off. Someone convince me. Sunam's 5 fingers gripped his own wrist, so tightly it turned pale. "I'm sorry, everyone." But before anyone could clearly hear what he was about to say, Ryung-un suddenly raised a hand high. "I think we should get off here." She saw right through Sunam's shoulders, which were trembling slightly from tension. "You are the only one among us who has certainty. And you've always stayed calm this whole time when everyone else was terrified." Deeply immersed in self-doubt, when he heard those remarks, he couldn't help but be startled. "I was calm." She gave a completely objective evaluation based on what she had witnessed from the beginning of this death train ride until now. There were people who made a fuss just trying to save themselves. But Kim Sunam, you didn't. Ryung-un's eyes were more resolute than ever. She decisively bet her life on him. "Anyway, if we have to listen to someone's opinion, I'd rather listen to a good person's." While the others were still standing in a daze, she decisively took a half step out of the safe zone. She didn't hesitate or pause for a beat to test the waters, just striding straight into the blood-soaked space outside. The surroundings remained silent, and no traps or dangers were triggered. Ryung-un immediately shouted to inform those who were still safe inside the train. "This is the right answer, everyone. Get off here. Everyone. Over here." Sunam stared open-mouthed at Ryung-un's back. Right then, a hesitant, weak voice rang out right next to him. "Kim Sunam." Ha-chun tried to squeeze out a smile that he thought was gentlemanly. "I trust you too, Sunam. Let's go. Don't hesitate because of me." A complex feeling welled up in his heart. Sunam acted as if nothing was wrong. All right. In reality, there was a ridiculous truth that no one knew. Sunam himself was the one too scared to get off. He discreetly swallowed, mentally cheering himself on. All right. Even though his heart was still filled with fear, he was determined not to show a single flaw on that emotionless face. If we all get off here, we'll be safe. In a place where now only the sound of their own footsteps echoed, he tried to keep his mind clear amidst the eerily quiet space. Just focus on the feeling of going up. After traveling a long distance, a massive glass wall covered in yellow talismans appeared before them. High above, an exit sign hung suspended, its surface stained with the dark, rusty brown of long-dried blood. The surrounding atmosphere lost its light once again, gradually sinking into deep darkness. Under the faint, lingering glow, they could only vaguely make out a steep flight of stone stairs leading upward. A blinding light suddenly flared up, accompanied by a sickeningly fake welcoming voice echoing through the space. "Congratulations, new employees." Sung was jolted awake by the piercing sound, his eyes snapping open. The first thing he did upon regaining consciousness was to quickly and carefully assess his surroundings. He silently began counting the people who had entered with him earlier. 2. His eyes darted around, searching for familiar faces in the crowd. 3. 4. The more people he accounted for, the more the tension on his face visibly eased. 5. His focus shifted to the last few figures of their group. 6. 7. Only then did the tight knot in Sinum's chest finally loosen. We survived. The number of surviving passengers from the train car, 8. Stepping out under the bright stage lights, Kim T gripped the microphone tightly and spoke loudly to stir up the dead silent atmosphere. Let's see here. Oh my God. A whole 22 people passed the probation period this time. That's truly an incredible record. Unless there was a bug in the difficulty settings, you guys are an elite batch. I wonder what HR will think of this. Despite his one-man show and lame jokes, the crowd below maintained a deathly silence. Sam quietly blended into the crowd, silently assessing the situation. No one reacted at all. Even though not a single person bothered to respond or play along, Kim T remained overly enthusiastic. So, should we pick the most outstanding person among you? In the middle of the dark room, a single spotlight suddenly beamed down from the ceiling, landing directly on him. Congratulations, Mr. Kim Seon-UM. Oh, standing up right away, I see. With situational awareness like that, you'd do great in our department too. What a shame. Sam maintained his usual calm demeanor, though a chilling sensation rose within him. So he was watching everything. Is this really happening? Kim T handed him a paper bag and burst into a meaningful laugh. Here, a gift from the company. It's not just for the top scorer, everyone gets one. Seon took the gift with both hands. Looking down at the bag, his lips twitched in exhaustion. Honestly, I don't feel happy about this at all. Just as Seon was about to take the gift, Kim T suddenly tightened his grip on the bag's handles, refusing to let go. He leaned in slightly, getting close to Sam's ear, and whispered in a low tone that only the two of them could hear. Take a good look inside. This unusual behavior and cryptic warning left him momentarily stunned. What? Before he could react, Kim T flashed a bright smile, pretending as if nothing shady had just happened between them. All right, next up is Mr. Baek-saon. Come on, next is... One by one, with dazed and exhausted expressions, they stepped up to the podium to receive a gift bag identical to Seon-UM's. Everyone's reaction upon holding the gift was completely different. Some couldn't hide their grief, while others stood dead still like soulless zombies. After returning to his spot, Sam quietly pieced together and analyzed the information he had gathered so far. The people who had been in the ghost story for a long time. It seems the time frame for each train is different. Glancing at the person next to him, a rare, fleeting sense of pity welled up inside him. Baek-saon. He'll probably check himself into a hospital after this is over. Up on the podium, Kim T beamed a radiant smile and clapped his hands to wrap up the event. All right, has everyone received their gifts? With this, all of you. He deliberately dragged out his words before loudly and enthusiastically announcing the official decision. Have been hired into the Dam Corporation's field investigation team. A large line of text suddenly appeared in midair like a closing statement, ending the chapter with a tribute from the production team. We sincerely thank everyone for loving this webtoon. Just when it seemed like everything could end peacefully and they were finally free, Kim T's eerie voice suddenly cut in. Wait. After all, it's not like everyone who passed the trial put in the same amount of effort, right? I mean, there are always those who just leech off others. The corners of his mouth stretched wider, reaching his ears in an expression of extreme gloating. Fairness must come first. All the freeloaders will be weeded out. In that split second, bizarre fluctuations suddenly appeared among the rows of seats in the auditorium. Several people who had been sitting quietly vanished in the blink of an eye, leaving no trace behind, as if they had never existed in this world. Seon shuddered in terror. He could clearly feel a filthy, chilling sensation slowly creeping over his skin. Witnessing this lightning-fast purge, Kim T raised his voice once again, addressing the remaining 13 new employees. Welcome, everyone. Rong-un covered her mouth with both hands in shock, desperately trying to suppress the nausea and disgust churning in her throat. Completely ignoring the terrified and panicked reactions of the crowd below, he continued to ramble on in a proud tone. All of you have secured your positions as official employees with outstanding performance. On the empty benches, only a few hollow sets of clothes remained, covered in a thick, sticky, unidentified fluid. The breaking point of one person in the group completely shattered. He raised a trembling hand, his voice repeating over and over, "I quit. I want to quit. I want to quit." Kim T raised an eyebrow, feigning innocence and confusion at the abrupt decision. "You want to quit such a good job? Why don't you hear about our benefits before making your decision?" Rong-un feared this was just another psychological trap set by the company to eliminate dissenters. "If I listen to the benefits, will my resignation still be processed safely?" He confirmed with an incredibly generous attitude. "Exactly. You can quit without facing any penalties whatsoever." But right after that promise, the familiar twisted smile reappeared on his face. "Of course, you might change your mind after hearing about the perks." CNEUM's face showed extreme tension. He knew the real trap was only just beginning. The stick had been dealt, and now, Kim T's voice tore through the air. "Let me introduce our company's top-tier benefits." CNEUM saw right through the dirty tricks this organization constantly used to manipulate and lure people in. Here comes the carrot. On the large screen, a detailed image of the treasure appeared, the wish ticket. At that moment, Kim T joyfully introduced it. "Our company is a famous and incredibly successful pharmaceutical conglomerate. We've even developed hair loss treatments, so you can imagine just how advanced our technology is. But we have a flagship product that surpasses everything else. The wish ticket, a drug that can make any wish come true. It's called the wish ticket. Just looking at the slides might be a bit hard to grasp, so let me give you a live demonstration. Luckily, today happens to be the day I received my very own wish ticket." As soon as he finished speaking, he quickly opened the wish ticket vial. Without hesitation, Kim T drank it right in front of everyone's bewildered eyes. The crowd murmured among themselves. "A wish ticket? Is that real? It's definitely fake, right? Besides, we don't even know what he wished for in the first place." Suddenly, Kim T's hair gradually became thick and smooth again. He let out a refreshing sigh. Looking youthful as if he had regained his prime, he happily announced, "See that? This is the power of the wish ticket. A wish ticket can even turn back time." Kim T continued, "Your team, the field investigation team, always achieves outstanding performance reviews. That means your team can earn wish tickets twice as fast as anyone else. In fact, the top 10 people who received their wish tickets the fastest were all from the field investigation team. In other words, the members of the field investigation team are in the best position to get one." That's just clever wordplay. The number of casualties is probably way higher than the number of people who actually received it. But even so, CNUM thought deeply. This isn't a scam. Everyone saw it with their own eyes. People can actually get a wish ticket. This silence is the calm before the storm. Suddenly, a hand shot up from the audience. Dong-guk hesitantly asked, "Can the wish ticket bring someone back from the dead?" He looked straight at Kim T with anxious eyes. Seeing this, Kim T smiled and answered clearly, "Ah, we have a standard answer for those kinds of questions. That is absolutely impossible. You were probably expecting me to say that, right? A wish ticket can grant absolutely any wish its owner desires. So, make your decision right now, okay?" The doors to the auditorium suddenly swung open. Kim T boldly declared, "Anyone who wants to reject this offer is free to leave. But those who wish to accept it, please put on the mask inside your shopping bags." Sam quietly glanced at the bag resting by his feet. He muttered in surprise, "A mask? I never thought I'd actually get one of these." With that, he slowly pulled the mask out of the bag. The moment he lifted it, a business card fell out. CNUM inspected the card, thinking to himself, "A business card. So this is why the host told us to look closely earlier. I'll check this out later." And here is the mask. Ghost Story Universe. Daydream Corporation. Reading and Editing Department. Employees assigned to the field investigation team must wear these masks during field work. These masks will be distributed after the new employee orientation. Depending on the employee, each recruitment year follows a different mask theme. For example, employees wearing ant and mantis masks are probably from the same recruitment year. This is the symbol of the Daydream Corporation's field investigation team. CNUM thought with concern, honestly, I kind of want to give up and run away. This is a world where dark anomalies constantly lurk in everyday life. A coward like me will have a hard time surviving here. If giving up means becoming cannon fodder in a horror story, then I have to find a way to escape this world. And then, one by one, they decided to put on their masks. From Baek Sahan, all the way to Rongan. Even after all that, not a single person left. When a new employee puts on their mask, its shape changes. It becomes personalized. The mask transforms into a unique shape tailored specifically for the wearer. CNUM thought to himself, I wonder what mine will look like. Then, a flash of light quickly burst forth. CNUM's mask had sprouted 2 horns on the sides. He thought awkwardly, deer antlers? What kind of shape is this? A deer? Does everyone get one? He glanced at Rongan's mask and thought, a mountain goat. Right after, a voice rang out, announcing, once again, congratulations on joining our company. Employment confirmed. So the probation period is officially over. Employment confirmed. In just a moment, a notebook appeared with the text, Ghost Story Universe. Physical item box. New merchandise has been unlocked. CNUM silently calculated. New merchandise has been unlocked? It stands out way too much. I'll check it later. Maybe later when I get home. Home. Suddenly, CNUM realized something. Wait a minute. Do I even have a home in this world? A little while later, Rongan excitedly walked over to strike up a conversation. Good morning, Mr. CNUM. CNUM calmly replied, Good morning. She asked him curiously, So you received housing support too, right, Mr. CNUM? He nodded and said, That's right. He recalled earlier when he searched for his address. His phone quickly displayed the message, Invalid address. CNUM thought blankly, The most recent records are from my college days. Even my family's contact information is gone. While he was worrying about what to do, Baek Sahan quietly glanced at him. CNUM watched as Kim T introduced the management and staff. He couldn't help but think, employee benefits. So I have no choice but to use them, huh? And that's how I moved into the company housing. The host's sales pitch echoed. The apartments are right next to the station. I told you, this is an absolutely fantastic company. Hearing that, CNUM secretly judged, who in their right mind would want to move in there after being forced through a survival game. Back in the present, Rongan was still chattering away. Did you know? It seems like 7 out of our 13 colleagues received housing support. Hearing this, CNUM thought in shock. The majority accepted it? Rongan continued. Even though it's a bit creepy, free housing near the train station is really hard to turn down. CNUM had to agree with her. True. Money is the scariest thing in the world. The company housing was actually quite decent. It was a clean, newly renovated building located near the station. Their intention is probably to keep us close enough so they can exploit our labor to death whenever they want. But there was only one problem. The moment CNUM walked in, he saw Baek Sahan sitting at the dining table, scrolling through his phone. Hearing the door open, Baek Sahan reflexively looked towards CNUM. Just like that, the two stared straight at each other with eyes full of disgust. My roommate in the company dorms just had to be Baek Sahan. In the epilogue, when Dongguk asked, Can it really bring the dead back to life? Kim T quickly replied, Of course. A wish ticket can do anything. Upon hearing that, the exact same thought popped into CNUM and Rongan's heads, even increasing the number of wishes. In the blink of an eye, the atmosphere between CNUM and Baek Sahan gradually turned into an awkward silence as neither said a word. CNUM looked at Baek Sahan's bandaged eyes and thought, Baek Sahan, it looks like the company treated your eyes. We don't need to get into each other's business just because we're roommates. I'll be heading to my room now. Just as he was about to ignore him and head straight to his room, Baek Sahan suddenly spoke up to stop him. Hey. However, CNUM didn't care and kept walking. Baek Sahan got a bit angry. He raised his voice and growled, Hey. Yet, CNUM still didn't react to his words. Baek Sahan started complaining. This guy is completely insane. Is watching someone else's eyes get gouged out that entertaining to you? CNUM remained silent, not answering. He slowly turned around and walked toward Baek Sahan. In a flash, he placed his hand on his shoulder. With a sinister smile, CNUM replied in a low voice, Yeah, It really is. Baek Sahan only had time to yell, "What?" before seeing him fired back with a long tirade. Is this what they call a dopamine rush? Thanks to you, I had a fantastic time. I hope we get the chance to work together. That way, I can watch scenes like that all over again. It's been a long time since I've seen something so entertaining. I'm really looking forward to hearing more good news from you. Make my office life a little more interesting, won't you? With that, CNUM turned and walked away. He thought coldly, all right, if I keep this up, I'm going to look like a total psychopath. Based on my method for identifying unreasonable people, honed through years of dealing with customers, there's a term for people like Baek Sahan. They're commonly known as having a God complex. People with a God complex rewrite their memories to fit their own narrative. They have no shame and no conscience. They bully the weak and submit to the strong. You can't reason with them, but they're incredibly quick-witted when it benefits them. The type of person who paints their own version of reality and stubbornly insists it's the truth. When dealing with people like that, it's best to aggressively overpower them. Saying I wanted to work with him was obviously a lie. It was both a bluff and a preventive measure. After all, the chances of new employees being assigned to the same team are extremely low anyway. I just need to lie convincingly enough to avoid getting stabbed in my sleep. Right after, C&M entered his room. Free company dorms. Fully furnished, spotlessly clean, looking brand new, with a private bathroom and weekly deep cleaning service for only 100,000 won. On the desk was a welcome gift, premium snacks, and even stationery. Literally, the CEO has gone crazy. The employee benefits are insanely good. They're employees who have been evaluated as competent, so the company is probably trying to reduce the turnover rate. There's even a diary. He immediately opened the diary to take a look. He thought suspiciously, but why does it say last year on here? And then, CNUM smiled and closed the notebook. He thought deeply, Senior, I really appreciate this blood-earned advice. But I'm already beyond saving. All right now that I'm all alone, should I check it out?